liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So we want to make actually, we're going to public hearing first.
So you're going to do a motion to open.
Recording.
We don't have to touch that thing. Said it's not on the video, so I don't know if you turn it on.
So, someone's in it right now, I see.
Yeah, 1 second, Joe.
Someone's in there. They usually give us a note if they want us to do something. They just,
Yes,
Good.
it was.
Good to go.
Oh, it's good. Okay.
We're good to go.
All right. So, yes, we're going right into the public hearing, so you can open into
I'll
the...
make a motion to open a public hearing.
I'll second it.
You already did it. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, so public hearing for 30 Mill Pond Parkway, the new Pilates studio coming in. And is anyone here tonight for 30 Mill Pond that wants to make comment? We know you're here for that. We know that. Is anybody else here that wants to make comment for the public hearing? Speak now.
Forever hold your peace.
Forever hold your peace.
Before we close the public hearing, Terry, can I just confirm that you received the mailings and proof of publication?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you want to read that in now, or you want to read it in at the?
We can read the public hearing in. Do
Yeah.
you need me to pull it up, Terry, or you have it?
You have it right in front of you. Go ahead and read it into the record then.
Village of Monroe Planning Board, notice of public hearing, 30 Mill Pond Parkway, site plan, special use permit, SBL 212-7-4. Please take notice that the Village Planning Board of the Village of Monroe will hold a public hearing at the Village of Monroe Village Hall, 7 Stage Road, Monroe, New York, 10950, on July 7, 2025, at 7 o'clock p.m., or as soon thereafter as possible, on the application of Rocco Gluck as tenant of 30 Mill Pond LLC as property owner, site plan amendment and special use permit to allow the operation of a Pilates studio at 30 Mill Pond Parkway, Monroe, SBL 212-7-4. A copy of the application is available for review in the Building Planning Department located at 7 Stage Road, Monroe, New York, 10950, during regular business hours by order of the Planning Board of the Village of Monroe, by order of the Planning Board of the Village of Monroe, Jeff Boucher, Chairman.
Okay. Has anyone arrived that wants to speak at the public meeting? All right, so we need a motion to close the public meeting for 30 Mill Pond.
I'll make a motion to close.
I'll second.
And Member Kelly seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? The public hearing is closed. And we need a motion to open the regular meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Member Allen and second. Member Heffnecker, and all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, the meeting is now open for 30 Mill Pond Parkway, so we can discuss. So I think, Liz, do you see any need to read any of Dave's comments in, or to have John do it?
With respect to Dave's comments, and just give me 1 second. Let me just get into the file. I just note that, just be aware for the board that the prior applicant for this space had done a payment in lieu of 2 spaces, so they get that credit. That's noted in Dave's most recent memo. Let me just pull that up, and I'm just going through. I'll go through most of my comments. We're pretty consistent. And then we can discuss what we need to do. So with respect to GML 239, it was required due to its proximity to Mill Pond. We did receive a response dated May 15th, 2025, indicating local determination. We did confirm that this is treated as a recreational facility indoor under our code. Just going through. We did, just with respect, the applicant had submitted a revised site plan. My comment, which is shared with Dave, is that the revised plan identify MGL Pilates LLC and Mimi Gluck as the application and the plan to be consistent, excuse me. And then I raised the parking calculation that Engineer Higgins was to verify adequacy, which he did in his comment number three. So this is a special permit, and so those standards are found in 48.2. After having our preparation meeting with Jeff this morning, I did take the liberty of drafting a proposed conditional resolution as well as, and I still made a typo, a special permit for your discussion this evening. And this is simply my draft and suggestions. It is not, you're welcome to change it, make any changes you wish. So my customary resolution, this is a type 2 action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and no further environmental review is required. We did have a duly noticed public hearing held today. I proposed the site plan approval and special permit subject to the following conditions. The terms of the special permit are incorporated as if set forth at length. The applicant to submit a revised application, and that's to reflect the changes, and actually that's a duplicate of number 4. Applicant to pay all fees. Applicant to update all application materials, application and site plan to reflect correct applicant names, and that's my comment 7. Applicant to address comments of Dave Higgins memorandum dated June 30th, 2025 prior to the signing of the site plan. Applicant to commence construction of all improvements shown on the site plan within 1 year pursuant to 248.4 and 200-72 of the Village of Monroe Village Code. The applicant may request an extension. The chairman shall be authorized to sign the site plan upon the advice of the planning board engineer and attorney that final plan set conforms to the conditions of this amended site plan approval. And then following that, and I did correct the typo up at the top, is the special permit itself. As I customarily do, the findings section sets forth the standards that are found in our code. That's 200-48. Specifically, those are the location and size of the use, nature, intensity of the operation, and traffic involved in or conducted in connection with it, the size of the site in relation to it, and the location of the site with respects to streets giving access to it are such that it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the district in which it is located. The location, nature, and height of buildings, walls, fences, and the nature and extent of landscaping on the site are such that the use will not hinder or discourage appropriate development and use of adjacent land and buildings. Operations in connection with any special use will not be more objectionable to nearby properties by reason of noise, fumes, vibration, or other characteristics that would be the operations of any permitted use not requiring a special use permit. Parking areas will be of an adequate size for the particular use, properly located and suitably screened from adjoining residential uses, and the entrance and exit drive shall be laid out as to achieve maximum safety. Existing municipal facilities are adequate for the proposed use. The property will be suitably landscaped to protect the neighborhood and adjacent properties in perpetuity. The applicant, and then based on these findings, the planning board approves the special permit. The applicant must comply with all of the requirements of 200-57. Those are the specific requirements for the indoor recreation use. This special permit shall be to the applicant and shall be terminated upon the sale, expiration of a leasehold interest of the applicant, a change to permitted use that does not require a special permit, or abandonment of the site unless otherwise authorized by the planning board. The studio as approved shall be operated entirely within the interior of the premises, and I say that because 200-57 also authorizes outdoor recreation, and since this is an indoor application, we're listing it that. And then I neglected to, I did leave a space whether we wanted to include an expiration date in the site plan.
Okay. Any discussion from the board?
Oh, good luck.
The only question I really need answered is whether you want any expiration on this particular. In some uses, we require them to come back every couple of years to check in.
There's no real
There,
reason
correct.
for this.
Okay, so then I'll strike that provision if the board is amenable to that.
Yeah. Everybody good with that?
There's nothing to keep it perpetuity.
No, there's nothing. So, all right, then we need a motion to approve the resolution for the site plan and a special permit for 30 Mill Pond Parkway for the change of use to Pilates.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Member Hefnecker and Member Allen, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries, motion carries. So, Mimi, you're all good, and,
So, I will finalize, because I was marking this up as we were talking. And I will email that to Terry in the morning. Take this to your engineer, because there's a couple of things they have to fix on the final plan before we can sign it. But essentially, we're not making you come back, so we've approved it subject to a couple of changes.
Thank you.
Okay?
Terry, is that on the email that you sent me yesterday?
No,
Not
no.
yesterday, Thursday, it's-
No, this
No,
is
these-
new. This got drafted today. So most of them, the email that you did get on Thursday was probably Mr. Higgins' comment letters. That's
Yes,
some of it.
yes,
There's
yes.
one other condition I need you to fix that's also listed in here.
and most of those were informational comments.
Okay. So once that's done,
Okay,
Mr. Cleverly
yeah,
Mr. Cleverly can email Mr. Higgins
okay.
the draft, the final, what he thinks is the final version of the plan.
Yeah, just
Dave
do
can then
that.
say, yes, this matches the approval, print it, sign it, and then you'll be in good shape, okay?
So this is for Brad, this is for the engineer, this is not for me, right?
But you're gonna get a copy of this and coordinate with, and you'll have to coordinate with Brad
Okay.
because there are a couple of little changes that have to be made to the plans before we can sign them, okay?
Thank you.
All right,
So
but you're-
what's my next step? Like, I can just yeah?
Take the comment letter that we're gonna,
Oh, I can send Brad an email. That's-
so, right, so we'll send it right to him.
But I can start renovations like tomorrow?
No,
No, we have to sign the plan first, which
You got it.
means Brad has to make those changes
Okay,
and send that into us.
okay.
And
and you need a
then,
building permit,
and then Terry will call you, yeah. You
Yeah.
can't get the
So
building,
then I coordinate with, okay.
yeah.
right, so as soon as you get the plan from us, you go to the building department.
And you can
Show
walk
them.
across the hall. Once he
Right.
signs it, you can pick it up from Terry, go across the hall, fill out your application.
So once Brad responds to you, I can come, I can communicate.
Yeah.
Once our engineer looks at it and says, yeah, this is what we need,
Okay,
then we'll sign it and Terry will call you and let you know,
okay.
or email you.
Thank you so much, everyone. I really
luck.
appreciate it.
Good luck.
Enjoy the rest of your summer.
You too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care of that. No, those changes were to the resubmission.
Okay, next up is 1 Alex Smith Ave, and I'm gonna guess that's David Maka. How are you, David?
Good, everyone. Hello. Good to be here. How's everyone this evening?
All right,
So far, so good.
Excellent. I like to carry that theme across.
Us too.
So, here for 1 Alex Smith. This project is a finished basement that represents no change to the existing footprint. We're not adding on to the building. Everything remained within the basement. So there are some pre-existing non-conforming conditions of the site, but as was mentioned in the comment letter, it's not impacting the project. So we finished, the client, I'm being told, bought the house with a finished basement, and her daughter is going to college, and she would like to have an apartment. So they came to us, we proposed a kitchen, submitted it to the building department, and that initiated a process. So apparently there are some things with the basement, that were not filed, and so now it becomes an accessory apartment, and we're here to work through that process. We did receive Lankin Tully's comment letters, or letter, understand everything that's being presented. We do realize that an accessory apartment has a maximum of 1,000 square feet. We're 123 square feet above that.
Which room don't they like?
Well, it's funny you brought that up, because I I proposed it to the building inspector to remove the den, to make it not part of the apartment, accessory apartment.
What's that bring it down to?
Well, the den is 142 square feet, so we would be below 1,000. So I have my pointer, everyone. And
The green doesn't work on there. Hope you didn't purchase that for here.
Of course I did. It's, you know,
Maybe you can switch out for
I
a
gotta
green,
switch
for a red one.
There's no
What's that going on?
color change?
You can go back to the long pointer.
I have one of those Mickey Mouse pointer fingers.
There you go. They took that away from me. It's too dangerous. Well,
It should be up there, David. The pointer should be there somewhere.
It's on the ledge.
oh, here it is.
There you go.
So, I mean, in all fairness, and I say this, you know, outright, this afternoon I had emailed the building department, you know, it was not part of this submission. It was in response to Lankentelli's comment letter. And what we did propose is closing this off completely, you know, making this a solid wall, adding a door here, so that when you come down the stairs, this would be a den for the first floor for Marcia, the mother, and her husband. And then this door here would be the only access to the apartment. And that would reduce the apartment size to less than 1,000 square feet. I welcome Chris's comments, you know, on that. I have no problem with it from a code standpoint. You know, if the board would entertain that, it would be fantastic. It would save them a step, you know, a couple of steps, and go into the zoning board to request the variance.
Well, let's do this. John, you have comments that you want to just read into the record for the board as well?
Sure, I can do that.
For the minutes?
I won't go through
And
the
then we'll come back,
informational
David.
ones. I'll just go through the highlight ones.
Right.
So off-street parking spaces shall be provided for each dwelling unit in accordance with section 200-46. Plan should be revised to depict the parking spaces for the single-family residence and the accessory apartment. Proof that adequate water supply and sewage disposal facilities are available. The existing building is connected to the village water supply system, sanitary source system. Therefore, it's assumed that there is available capacity. Mr. Neomako spoke about the one comment we have with regards to the size of the apartment and being oversized. The rest of it just goes through the apartment and is more
Hang on one second,
information.
John. Mike, I'm going to have to ask you guys to just... Perfect.
Upon receiving special use authorization.
I'm trying to listen to you, and I can't do it, you know, so...
So upon receiving special,
I'm sorry.
John, you got to take over here. Just do it. Just talk right over
I'm
it.
done, you didn't hear it? Upon receiving special use authorization, the owner must file a covenant at the county clerk's office and with the local assessor stating that the right to rent an accessory apartment ceases upon transfer of the title. Purchasers of the home that have special use authorization for accessory apartments who want to continue renting those apartments must apply for special use authorization. So he goes through a bunch of notes that your code speaks of that should be put onto the plans itself.
And you have all that, right, David? You received it all.
Yes, I do.
And the plot plan references a survey map prepared by AFR Engineering and Land Surveying dated October 9th, 2013. A signed and sealed copy of the survey should be provided for the file.
I'll do my best.
Not that long ago.
And the project is located within 500 feet of the municipal boundary of the town of Monroe, and therefore referral to the Orange County Department of Planning is required under GML 239.
So I think, you know, and it's listed, did David do it as, or you, John, as an unlisted action, right? Type 2? No, it's type 2.
Type 2,
Yeah, okay.
because you're not changing anything, nothing's occurring, it's just an existing structure.
So I just have a question about one of those first comments, about the parking. What did you mention about the parking?
So section 200-46
Yeah.
of your code requires that the parking be shown, the off-street parking be shown.
Off-street. So
Off-street.
They,
Yeah,
they
what
just
would
have
that-
to mark spots 1, 2,
On their property.
on their property.
On their property,
They
they
have
gotta
to mark, just
Oh,
designate.
just on the property, okay.
On-
so
yeah.
Off street, like.
Right, right.
There's no.
No,
parking,
on the
no-
plan, they gotta designate where the
Okay,
vehicles
okay.
are being parked.
And I believe there's a 2-car garage, so that's 2 of the spaces.
Sure.
If,
Go ahead.
yeah, may I comment? If you go to the plot plan, we show that. We show the 2-car garage and we show the third space.
Yeah, that's fine, I just didn't know if like it had to be off-street parking, and I'm like, wait a minute, we're on village streets here, you can't park in the winter time.
Yeah, that's fine. This uses clarification.
But we agree with, all those comments, so.
So I think, and Liz will probably want to say more, but I think the only action we'll take tonight is the GML, the 239. Unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, I'm hesitant, no, yes, it can go for 239. And David, I didn't get you comments because I just drafted them and I realized I missed my one big comment. He's already got all of them. Just look at the application, because when I checked the tax records, it lists the applicant as a life estate and other interests. I would just like them to sign the consent because there's multiple people involved in that application. So if you can have them, and I apologize for not I wrote it down in my notebook and I didn't carry it over to my
Lawyer.
typed.
Could you send that to me tomorrow?
I'm gonna hand it to you right now. See, I even have a photocopy.
Thank you. Excellent.
But the issue about the consents of anybody that's on title should sign a consent, just so that we're covered, that everybody's happy. Okay?
So good. Okay, so anything else, David, that you wanted to say? Or,
No,
I mean, as long as it meets the specs and it's under, and Chris is happy with it, once
Yeah,
it's.
and again, the village is protected because we have to follow covenant, and then if the house ever changes
has to.
title, it gets
Yeah.
re-examined and reviewed at that time. So if it's okay with the board, if I could continue working with Chris on it, and we'll make the next submission.
So at this, part of me is, while it's an interior change, normally I like, knowing that I have a revision coming, we can authorize Terry to send
239.
239 upon receipt of that submission. Once we have that submission and knowing that we don't have to go.
Talking about the life estate signature?
That I'm less worried about.
On which submission?
Well, he's gonna make revisions to the plan that obviate a need for a variance. Once I know there's no variance, we can then schedule the public hearing.
Right, so you're saying make the
Normally,
239 conditional upon the submission?
if I'm expecting changes to a plan, I don't send
The 239, yeah.
239 on the old plan, I wait till I have the new plan.
Yeah, for sure.
So once we have that,
Okay.
but you can authorize
Yeah,
239
no,
now,
make it conditional.
and then, once we get the submission, Terry can send it. So if there's a motion to send for 239,
Yeah.
Elizabeth makes a good point. I mean, our submission is hoping to negate the variance that would be needed. And for me to do so, I have to work with the building department. So reasonable, not a problem.
Okay.
so is there a motion for
Yep, so
239?
do we have a motion to, upon,
What?
Chris?
This whole den that he's trying to remove, who's to say the next people don't move in and turn it back into a room, bedroom?
Well, because one of the conditions is we have to file a covenant with the county. And then if the house ever changes title, you have the right to go in and inspect it and to revert that.
You sure the covenant states so?
Well, I get to review the covenant. If you're concerned about that, okay, that den's gonna really be incorporated into the apartment and exceed the code, the other potential is treat enough spaces as cold storage and have it unfinished.
Well, the other thing is that your covenants basically say purchasers of homes that have special use authorization for accessory apartments who want to continue renting those apartments must reapply for special use authorization.
That's the covenant.
So they got to come back and reapply.
So David, just one thing on the plan. Is there access, or are you saying, because you said there's only one access, and that looks like through the family room?
No, up at the top.
Or it's through the hallway? No, he's gonna show me up here, what he's saying. That's,
Imagine we're in the basement, these are the stairs to go up.
right,
to the first
yep,
floor.
yep,
So here's a door to this den.
yep,
We would take this door out.
okay, that's what we're wondering. That's what I'm asking.
And then add a door here.
Right,
you
so-
come down the stairs, you go here to the den or here to the apartment.
Right, so that apartment then,
Which is-
you're saying, is the family room, the next room, and the room
Kitchen,
to the left?
Yeah. Kitchen, living room, bedroom.
Right.
David, one question for you. Do they have another way of egress out?
Well, we have, this sliding doors go to the outside, out to daylight, and back, and the window in the bedroom has to meet egress requirements.
Okay. And you still get to review, Chris, so. everybody's doing it, so.
Whenever they change ownership or every year, we get to review it. You know what, if I could talk with Chris, tomorrow or something, we'll make the revisions right away. We'll make the new submission almost immediately.
Okay, and we'll just make the 239 contingent, on
We
receiving.
won't be setting the public hearing until our next meeting anyway,
Right.
because if Chris makes a determination that the revisions don't address
Well, we gotta have
the
a,
variance.
yeah, we
then-
gotta have a complete plan to do that
Yeah,
anyway, so.
correct. So,
Yep, that's fine. So we need a motion to, refer the 239 to the county, contingent upon the submission and approval by Dave or John from
I'll
Lankentelli.
make that
Okay.
motion.
Second.
Okay, so, Joe and Fred. All in favor? And opposed? Okay,
Thank you, everyone. Have a
okay.
good evening.
Have a good one, David. All right. 573 Route 17M. Now we can be part of the conversation.
as you.
Now you can talk, Mike.
Now we can join in.
All right, I've been waiting for this moment.
So before you do anything, Mike, we'll just have John read the comments for the record there this way.
And Mike, because I was bad. Nothing crazy.
All right, so I know there's some SWIP comments.
God, you want multiple copies? Look at this. No, I'm kidding. No, give me a second. It's fine, hold on.
570? No, it's the longer.
There you go. You're welcome. Now I gotta go pull my electronic.
The animal shelter, where Harold Carver used to be. That's gonna be more.
You know what the bank is, you're looking at, you go to.
Okay, John, you're on.
Thanks. So first comment, the submitted architectural plans show a building height of 27 feet, yet the bulk table on the plans note a proposed height of 35 feet. The bulk table should be revised so that both plans are consistent. Sheet 2 of the plans provided includes the wetland boundaries of the 100-foot adjacent area. It appears that the wetland boundary has been validated by the New York State DEC. However, the map does not include a signature and stamp by the New York State DEC or the surveyor of record. A copy of the validated map bearing the signature and stamp of DEC and the surveyor should be provided. A total of 234 square feet of disturbance is proposed within the wetland and 1,411 square feet in the adjacent area. Permit from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and possibly the Army Corps of Engineers is required prior to issuance of amended site plan approval. The plans have been revised to replace the two existing driveway entrances onto New York State Route 17M with a single new entrance located in between the existing two. This driveway will need to be approved by New York State DOT and permitted by them. Landscape plan has been provided along with the calculations demonstrating that 10% of the total required parking area has been devoted to landscaping in compliance with the village code, section 200-45J. Planning board should consider the adequacy of the submitted landscaping plan. With that, looking at this, I think some additional landscaping could be provided along the sides of the building.
Yep.
Or going back, especially along what appears to be the loading dock area. to further screen that. On sheet 5 of 18, it appears that the grades shown and the labels that a curb is being proposed along the northern property line to serve as a short wall. Details of the curb or this wall should be provided. I did have a conversation with Mr. Morgante with regards to this. My other concern is during construction, ensuring that somebody is not encroaching onto the neighboring property, whether they get an agreement with your neighbor to, you're gonna have, even if you have no equipment there, I know you're gonna have laborers that are standing on the neighbor's property. We just wanna make sure that there's no problems there. So get some sort of agreement with them while you're doing this construction. Section 200-34D requires that all non-residential uses shall provide for a fire lane to allow access for emergency vehicles at all times. Plans provide a 3-foot wide fire lane along sides of the buildings. Plans should be referred to emergency services for input. Regarding the submitted lighting plan, in some areas the illumination along the property line exceeds the 0.2 foot candles permitted. Plan shall be revised to comply. The proposed sewer connection shall be subject to review and approval by Orange County Department of Environmental Facilities. A 4-inch ductile iron water service is shown on the plan, which appears to connect to an existing service. The size and material of the existing service shall be noted on the plan, or provisions made to replace the connection if necessary. Backflow prevention will be required and should be approved by the Orange County Department of Health prior to issuance of a building permit. A traffic impact study has been completed by Creighton Manning on behalf of the applicant and has been reviewed by the village's traffic consultant, Kimley Horn. While they found most of the information contained within the provided traffic impact study to be agreeable, there were several comments noted which are summarized below. A crash analysis should be provided. Any approval should be conditioned upon whatever requirements New York State DOT may place on the applicant for its permits to make changes to the driveway. And the village should decide on whether or not they like to see sidewalks along the front of the property. The next comment.
We would.
The next comment.
That's something that will be in the right of way, or will be in this property? That's a good question. Do we need to go to the village board for that, or is that the village? Is that the village board does the planning board?
So
For-
sidewalks, depending on where they are.
Yeah, the village board would have to sign off on it.
No.
No?
Well,
No?
hold on, there's two parts. If they're not in the right of,
Would be in the
DOT has to approve them.
Yeah, we'd be in the DOT right away.
We would approve them as part of our site plan. Once they were built, the applicant could then potentially offer them.
Is there
For-
sidewalk
for-
connecting to anywhere? There's no sidewalks there.
So what happens is if you keep doing this as everybody changes use or uses something, ultimately, you have a sidewalk everywhere. So it's good for a strike,
We'll have to work with the DOT.
walk back and forth.
We'll make note to the DOT that the planning board's requesting this, and we'll work with them to try to develop that.
Yeah, see what they,
But the main thing what the DOT will ask for, is probably other areas and working with, how who's going to maintain it. So typically they do an IMA if it's a municipality. If it's not a municipality, we need to see if that's, I don't know. We'll have to check it
We'll
out.
look into that, yeah.
The next comment has 10 comments with regards to stormwater. I won't get into that.
but you received those, Mike, right? The Switten?
I did. I can discuss quickly with the board. I spoke to John earlier about it today. There was one comment here in terms of the difference in the length versus the width of what was on my model versus the plan. The capacity on the model is the same as what's on the plan.
Okay.
So the model doesn't necessarily have to take into consideration the geometry that's shown. It does from like a soil testing perspective, which we've tested in the proper locations. So I think Dave is just looking for me to have consistency either way between the model and the plan. Those revisions have already been made. It doesn't change anything.
Okay.
In terms
So
of
if
results.
you've talked to
Yes, so,
Mike and Tully about it?
yes,
And as soon as they sign off, then
yes,
we'll be good with that?
Right, we still have to go out there and witness soil testing when they
Yes.
set that up.
Right.
This will need to be referred to Orange County Department of Planning. and this would require a public hearing.
Okay. Anything that you guys want to address or need to address there, questions or clarifications?
No, I think it's worth discussing that we did receive comments back from SHPO.
Okay,
And SHPO essentially said that they want us to maintain a 90-foot separation basically from the cemetery boundaries to any construction, which by default were greater than 90 feet as it is right now. By the time you look at the first plot across the road and you take the right-of-way into account and then our driveway and whatnot, it shouldn't be an issue.
I think they want a construction plan from you, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure that any of our construction is within that 90-foot distance is what I'm saying to you.
But are they asking for you to submit the plan to them anyway, regardless, or?
So we recommend implementation of a construction protection plan for all construction activity within 90 feet of the adjacent listed resource. The plan should, at a minimum, include a plan for avoiding direct and indirect damage to historic resources, a pre-work photo survey of historic resources, and a post-work photo survey of historic resources. So, I mean, we'll take a look at the measurements. I'll put them on a plan. If we fall within the 90 feet distance, we'll put a plan together. If we don't, then I'll resubmit that to SHPO showing them that we don't and there's no plan that's required.
Yeah, I'd get clarification from them,
Yeah.
you know, because what did they go off of to ask you for that? Did they have the plan?
Oh, yeah, I upload my site plan.
Right,
to-
so they
yes.
would have seen that it's more than 90 feet, I'm thinking, or they could have just, it could have been oversight.
I think, yeah, one or the other. I think there just needs to be the statement that I'm not within 90 feet, and I'll put something together
Okay.
that shows that.
I think it's hard to put a scale on the screen and actually.
Probably, yeah.
Those little measuring tools never work.
The only other thing I would note is that, you know, based on our last meeting, we tried to address as many of the comments from Dave's last comment letter that we could in the anticipation of being able to circulate for the 239 and for this board to potentially consider scheduling a public hearing for a meeting in August. I believe we revised the EAF appropriately. I think I put the fire lane in, which is one of the other major comments for.
Is it in the new submission?
It is.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So, and we took care of, you know, a few other of the comments that we were able to. So I think the plans are in a position at this point. They could certainly be circulated unless there's any exceptions taken by the board or the consultants, and the board, I think, could consider potentially scheduling a public hearing if they decide to do so.
Yeah, I'm not sure we do the public hearing because, you know, you don't have the wetland delineation signed off on.
Well, what I can say to you about that is Mike Fratz from the DEC did the delineation. So we've surveyed it. It just needs to be sent in to him and signed. That's it. So I'm confident that what you see is what's going to,
Technically.
yeah.
Okay. So,
Mike, I'm gonna be Debbie Downer. It's my job. I have ready a resolution to declare intent to be lead agency and then refer pursuant to 239, but because we're declaring our intent, we need to allow the circulation period to pass before we can schedule a public hearing. I also, my understanding, and I could be wrong, I read Mr. Canning's email that he was providing a quick, you know, quickie review summary to have them in for tonight's meeting, but that a more detailed review is coming. I may have misread his email.
The
But
traffic consultant.
I did prepare a resolution as well as a draft notice of intent to be lead agency. And Terry, I've already found a mistake, so I gotta send that to you again in the morning.
and I do think that John Canning was asking more for the crash test, I think. Is that this?
Crash analysis, he
Right.
was looking for crash analysis data to be provided. Approval would be conditioned upon New York State DOT and whatever the other requirements they may place upon the applicant when they're doing the work. And then it had to do with the sidewalks along the front of the property.
Right.
Those were the three quick ones.
You'll get clarification on that one.
So I just want to run down the list of agencies before I read this resolution. Tell me if I missed any, John. I've got New York State DOT, I got DEC, I got Army Corps,
Mhm.
I've got Orange County Environmental Facilities / Sewer District Number 1,
Mhm.
and SHPO. Am I missing anybody?
Orange County Department of Health, but that wouldn't come until time
Yeah.
of building permit.
Right, they don't have approval
Right.
authority. Did I get everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about the town? Are they near, are they off the town? Are they, no? Okay. Border?
Oh, you mean because it borders? They wouldn't be entitled to receive notice of the public hearing at that time, but they're not in approval, they have no approval.
Right.
They might be interested.
Yeah,
Um,
they're interested
Let
party,
me,
I
are
think.
they right there?
I think it's within
How
five,
far
what is
are
it,
you
500?
from
How far are you from the town? Do you know, Mike? I think it's within-
I'm looking at the location map right now. That's got to be the town line right there. It looks to me like it's more than 500 feet.
okay.
If you look at my location map, 1 inch is 400 feet. I mean, that's, I'm presuming that's the town line there. I should probably label it. Looks like we're more than 500.
Okay, well, we could check too. Let's see.
Let me just look at the tax map real quick. 519.
Big building of office space.
I think so.
Oh,
Need to change this.
Yeah.
oh,
Absolutely.
that's a,
Can say anything you want.
now you're John O'Rourke.
I wear 1,000 hats. It's fine.
So Mike,
You
so
know,
this is just.
I spit out
this is office
5
space,
memos
basically, right?
today.
What is the nature of this building? I'm just curious. Is this more office space?
Yeah, it's nowhere near.
Any particular medical or?
It's there,
No,
town's there.
Nothing.
I will check more on that if they have any
Yeah, it's-
specific lookout, but general professional office.
Doesn't even give a distance on that line, does
Yeah,
it?
that's 112.
We
Oh,
have
yeah.
lots more office space
Way
coming
more
in
than 5.
all the time.
I may not
I
have a
just
scaler,
want- I
but
hope that we're benefiting the other businesses in Monroe as well. You know, where everyone's kind of feeding off each other, so it's good that, you know, these offices space comes in.
Right.
But are they also benefiting other businesses in the community as well? Are they all feeding off each other? That was wondering what the nature of it was. Are they all kind of working together? Are they feeding each other, so to speak? Are they staying in the village of Monroe?
It keeps the employment here, it keeps a lot of jobs here. Definitely.
Oh, it's a good point made, because, even though have stopped by me and said, what are we doing with all this office space in the village of Monroe? What are we doing with all the storage space in the village of Monroe? What is it facilitating? How is it helping the village of Monroe? I don't see it. I personally don't see it. You can build whatever you want. If it's by the code,
Right.
there's no issue.
You just gave me the response I was going to give
But
you.
bottom line still is, how is this improving Monroe? Don't see it. Don't see it at all.
Well,
Typically, commercial is mixing in.
You even take a look at the facility that was built down 17, just before Harriman, behind the road that snakes down and it's in the back.
Behind the car wash?
Yeah, behind the car wash. Big storage facility. What's gonna be there? I know that happens to be Harriman, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yes.
But still, it adds to more traffic on 17M. It adds to ruining the roads on 17M. I mean, they're so good right now. I mean, people are asking me why. Unfortunately, a lot of people know my name because I was on the village board for many years.
So typically what that does, that keeps jobs local.
I can't hear you. Get by the mic so everybody can hear you.
Typically what that does, that keeps jobs and employment local. So that means that it benefits to the village residents, that if there is local businesses, typically they're looking for local employment. So This is like everywhere, every
There
area is trying to appeal.
There is a sign on every store in the village of Monroe looking for people to work, especially the service industry. And I know you're not gonna have a Dunkin' Donut or a whatever,
It's not a food
eateries.
service.
This-
Yeah.
That's not your facility. But every body is looking for help.
Got to fire up that next generation.
Yeah.
Okay? Keep that in mind.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. Anything else from the board? Questions at all? All right, so I think where we sit right now is you're gonna get the sign off from DEC, which you're working on. You're gonna check with Historic Preservation just to see with SHPO. You're gonna double check your 500 feet for the interested party of the town. We're gonna, or Elizabeth's gonna draft a resolution. You didn't do it yet? Oh, you have it with you?
I
Okay.
have.
We'll declare lead agency or intent to, for lead agency and circulate that among the ones mentioned. And then,
Try to schedule some soil testing too, if we can.
do what?
We'll try to schedule some soil testing for the stormwater system as well.
Yeah, great.
Perfect.
And I think we can circulate for 239
Yep.
as well.
And emergency services too?
We can send emergency services based on the new plan. We were just waiting for that from last time.
Okay.
Getting it striped it and everything else, right? Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas the Village of Monroe Planning Board is considering an application for site plan approval to authorize the demolition of an existing veterinary office and kennel and for the construction of a two-story, 23,342 square foot office building together with related site improvements. And whereas a short environmental assessment form, EAF, dated October 15th, 2024, last revised, and I think it's May something, but I'll fix that date, was submitted for review by the planning board. Whereas after comparing the thresholds contained in 6 NYCRR 617.4 and 5, the planning board has determined that the proposed project is an unlisted action. And whereas after examining the EAF, the planning board has determined that the following agencies are involved or interested agencies for purposes of seeker: New York State Department of Transportation, New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, Army Corps of Engineers, Orange County Environmental Services, Environmental Facilities, Sewer District Number 1, and State Historic Preservation Office. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board makes the following findings. 1, the proposed action is subject to the State Environmental Quality Review Act. 2, the action may involve one or more other agencies. 3, the action is primarily classified as an unlisted action pursuant to 6 NYCRR Part 617. 4, coordinated review of the action is appropriate. Be it further resolved that the planning board hereby declares its intent to be lead agency for review of this action. Be it further resolved that the planning board clerk shall cause notice of such intent to be circulated in accordance with seeker. Be it further resolved that a determination of significance will be made at such time as all information has been received by the planning board to enable it to determine whether or not the action will or will not have a significant effect on the environment. Be it further resolved that the planning board secretary shall circulate the application to the Orange County Department of Planning pursuant to GML 239-M. Be it further resolved that the planning board secretary shall circulate the application to local emergency services. And I'll tweak and I have the notice of intent
Could you email me?
mostly correct. I will copy you on it.
Thank you.
Okay. So does somebody want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion to adopt that.
Okay. Member Kelly. And second?
I'll second.
Member Allen. All in favor? And opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right.
Lots of revisions
Anything
to
else,
you.
Mike?
I think that's it at this time.
Okay,
Thanks for your time today.
good. Thank you.
Michael, I know you're here, you just happen to be here tonight. I know we talked to you a month ago about the Choco Cheese sign. Did we hear anything about that?
Yeah, we're putting that information together. We have to get some renderings and other materials from the actual sign manufacturer.
You know, Michael, a lot of our permits go out, they have clear statements in them. They put up the sign, they know they're supposed to come here.
Joe, with all due respect, the sign was on the site plan. Take a look at the plans I submitted, it was there. I think that's how we should end the conversation at this time tonight. It was there, it was overlooked in the resolution on both parties, but the sign was shown on the site plan. The last one that was submitted to this board.
Was it, Mike?
It was there.
Because I know there was a statement that said you had to come to show us.
Take a look at the plans, it was there. So we're working out the details with the applicant to get whatever else is required for this board to approve it. We will resubmit.
I've coordinated with Mr.
Yes.
Morganti as
Yeah.
to what's needed.
I've spoken to Jeff, I've spoken to Liz.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, he still has to show the sign to us so we can approve.
No, I understand that.
It is,
but-
to Mr. Morganti's credit, there was a notation of the location of the sign. What was not approved was the architecturals of the
sign.
sign.
That's correct. That's correct.
So the sign was notated on the site plan, but
Okay,
it was overlooked.
They didn't give it and we didn't ask for it,
okay.
so.
So
No,
So-
I
So it was an
thought
oversight.
one of the statements and conditions
No,
of the permit.
we've figured out a path
that
forward to
permit
fix it,
had to
and
come
we'll
to
fix
us.
it.
Yep, we're working it
sign
out.
had to
We're at the
come out.
mercy of the manufacturer to get like the architectural stuff that the board will
Mm-hmm.
need to,
Okay.
for it to be approved, right?
I don't see any of the awnings either over the windows.
The awnings we provided.
No, the awning, but they're not installed yet. Are they coming?
Oh, I don't know. Actually, no,
I know.
I'm not the contractor.
The awnings over the windows and the overhang over the front.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll have to send it to enforcement.
that's what I think needs to happen, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's not gonna happen, I just
Well,
don't
they
know.
just, they don't get their,
Yeah,
they don't get their
that's the
final
point.
CO.
Yeah, right.
There's time.
Yeah.
Time goes by.
But again, they,
And all you hear from them, oh, we're sorry.
it's part of
We're
the,
coming back later.
but Liz raises a good point, it's part of the approval. It's
They
part
don't
of the
get their CO
resolution, so-
if they don't
Right.
have them.
Yeah.
They don't get their final CO.
They don't
They
get
can
their CO.
enjoy it very
They're-
temporarily.
They're working in there now.
Well, that's
They-
more a
They're
building.
they're baking cakes in there now.
They've been.
Mike's only the engineer. He's
Mike's
not the
like, I'm
chef.
out of here.
I mean, they're on Facebook.
Oh, that's interesting.
Price of the cakes.
They can
everything.
theoretically have a
Are
temporary,
you kidding me?
they could theoretically have a temporary sometimes,
See you, Mike.
I mean,
because it's a
Good eye, Mike.
non-structural
Why don't we just
element,
shut
they
them
wouldn't
down?
have, you,
Because it's a what?
when, typically, if there's a site improvement that's not structural,
thank you, Michael.
Right.
often landscaping, I would include this in one of them. The building department does have the authority to issue a temporary. They would not have the authority to issue a final until it was complete. That temporary only lasts so long. I can confirm with the building department the status and your buildings. What? So I'm assuming they have a temp right now because they don't have
Do
their.
they have one? That's Choco Cheese. It would be 581?
I'll
No.
follow up with you in the morning.
You know what chocolate cheese is. Yeah. But they're on Facebook. They're all over.
How long is a temporary typically?
I have to
Shut 'em
look
down.
at your code. It can vary and
Well-
it depends by the code. It's
So,
sometimes
Chris,
6
we'll
months
just-
to a year.
Yeah, we could
Plus,
just,
we signed
But if
off
you
on a
finish it-
site plan. You signed off on a site plan that had the awnings. We had a big discussion on the awnings.
right, but you
The
have. time
overhang of
to
the
go-
building.
Right, but it doesn't go up the next day, Joe. But to your point about them producing things, and to Elizabeth's point about the needing the temporary CO, right, to do that,
They can't.
that would be Chris's department, and he's sitting here, he can check into that to see if they have one, right? So, and we'll get you an address, Chris, just to,
I know where Chuck E. Cheese is.
He knows.
Okay.
He knows where it is.
but do you know,
I didn't know there was a special planning board,
I'll coordinate with you in the morning.
please, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
well, we wouldn't have known until tonight, until Joe just said, he saw it on Facebook, that they're actually doing this. So, they don't offer that while they're here,
No, it's hard to get that.
so.
Oh. And we had David here. We sent him the pictures of the flooded area.
Yes, we did.
He's pretty quiet on it, wasn't he?
I would be if I were him too.
Okay. I would caution the board about discussing applicants who are not
Yes.
present or on the agenda.
That is
So,
true.
If we can move to our next item.
Yes, so let's move on to 59 Gilbert, and I think John Petrosini is here. Is that how you say your last name, John?
Petrosini.
Petrosini. I got it. Okay, so this is, yeah, so,
Well,
you know, John, bring us up to speed on the violations and, you know, last time we saw 59, they were in violation.
We seem to ebb and flow on that. I was not the original on this project.
No, we know.
I got involved in December, January.
Yeah.
I made an initial submittal just to get paper in front of you per Frank Pace's request.
Right.
He then sent me emails insisting that I had to submit to be on the June agenda.
I think that's because of a court case? Is that potential? Because that's what it was in the
I'm not involved
past.
in it. I mean, that may be the case, I don't know.
So really, the applicant should be here. Like, in other words,
For this specific question, yes.
right, so.
I
see
mean,
the-
I was waiting for the project surveyor.
Right, so here's, I'm gonna share this with you so you can actually take this back. You know, the way we look at it, if someone's in violation, we don't wanna hear them.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because, now, the only reason I would even entertain, and why I entertained even keeping it on the agenda, is because we were thinking it needed something from the planning board for the court.
Okay.
If that's not the case, then,
Well,
the
Jeff, if I
correspondence
just,
have-
I'm sorry, I want to clarify
Yeah,
the
sure.
situation just a little bit, and so that we're clear with,
sure. And this is nothing against you, John, we understand you just got into this, so.
so I just want to be clear about the status of the application. There are notices of violation against the property for unlawful construction of that structure without permits or approvals. The applicant was given the opportunity, as part of his ongoing court proceedings, to correct that by coming to the planning board. So the planning board application is, in theory, an effort to resolve the violation. The particular problem with this applicant, and again, I'm not putting this on Mr. Petrosini in any way, shape, or form, is that we got a bare bones application, and then nothing, because my revision dates, I have April 8th, 2024, October 9th, so we didn't get a revision for 6 months, and then we didn't get something till December, then we didn't get something till March, and now we're here in July, and some of this, I understand, you know, that engineers will need time to get surveys done, and actually, since he's come on, this is the most movement we've seen on the project. So I think at this point, for purposes, what I'd like to do is give Mr. Petrosini our comments. His client has to just understand that if he doesn't pursue this in good faith, Mr. Petrosini can only do what he is authorized and, quite honestly, also paid to do.
Sure.
In terms of the work. What I would ask in return is that you be direct with us in terms of timing. You know, if your consultants, whoever your surveyor needs 3 months, tell us, you know, give us an accurate timeframe, because that's what's, some folks think, okay, I just have to make the application and the violation will go away.
But I
He has to make the application.
But I think we're way past that, Elizabeth.
I understand that, and I'm just saying that for the record.
As far as current, everything I have from Frank Pace is you have to submit to planning board. If I have to submit to planning board's not gonna hear the application. Kinda doesn't make it.
So, did
No,
Frank
Frank-
give you a reason what or why you need to submit to the,
Because the applicant has not been diligently pursuing his approval, and I'm not moving fast enough, so I have to submit immediately. So I did. I gave you a ridiculous cartoon submittal last time. This time, I hired a surveyor, I hired a wetland specialist, I surveyor was backed up. It's spring, construction's busy. I missed your submittal date by 2 days. You can check with the front office. We were here, we dropped off plans 2 days after the date. I mean, it doesn't get us on the June agenda, but we were held up for 2 days.
Right.
You know?
John, let me ask you a question. Do you need all of what you're talking about to get out of violation?
I honestly don't know.
So to get out of violation, so there's two ways that
To
this
cure
can,
it? Yeah.
that this can be cured. One, the drastic way, which take the building down and restore the site. That's number one. Number
Which I think you need
two,
a demo permit for, by the way.
you can't get a demo permit for a building that never got a building permit in the first
No, I
place.
think well, if it's
No.
there, you need a demo permit for
No,
it.
because it never,
Unless a permit is issued for a building, or a CO or a CC is issued for that building, how do you apply for a permit to demo it?
that a building doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist if the permit wasn't issued for it.
But when you, so, to your point, when you arrive at the location and see the building and say, now we want to take it down,
The purpose of the demo permit is to take it off the
Oh, a
town's
good
records.
example of this is, let's go to DEC. Oil storage tank is found.
right,
You now have to go through and permit it. Even though your intent is to clean it and remove it, they still make you file and permit that tank, so then you could file to remove that tank.
well, that's government at its best,
No,
isn't it?
it's just like, the building permit is, if you think about lifespan, the building permit is the birth, the certificate of occupancy is the baptism, the demolition permit is the death, like.
Well,
But
so there's gonna be exceptions, because the
There-
other thing is, how long has the building been there? Was it there before codes were?
Yeah. But
No.
No, so then,
So the building could come down. He could take the building down, restore the site to what is its approved site plan. That's option one. Option two is to legalize it. There are several, we've discussed this, there are several issues with the site. One, it is wedged between residential, so it has increased buffers. Two, for what is on the site, he built an absolutely enormous,
Right, it's the biggest building out there.
you know, he built an enormous warehouse. It could be a smaller building that would eliminate would eliminate a variance. Not all variances, but would eliminate a variance. So those are the issues. My understanding is it's currently being occupied, and it should not be occupied. There should be nobody going in and out of there. There should be because it's not permitted or has even a TCO. So that's incumbent on the applicant. So
Who's
Jeff.
not here?
Yeah, but he doesn't need to be here. He sent a representative. I know you don't like that answer.
I don't mind that answer, but to John's point, he can't answer those questions.
I understand that.
So sending a representative to do what? The engineering part, right? I get that. So if he's not going to do that, and he's not going to come and answer the questions, well, I don't feel obligated to do anything for the applicant.
I
So,
was not aware that this was gonna be an agenda by item. You know, I thought this was a separate matter with other people in the village.
so
The violations, you mean?
Correct. So I was not.
The applicant
prepared
did
for
not
those
inform you.
violations. No, he did not. I
So-
know he has violations. I didn't know that was an agenda item.
And he knows that the court ordered him here to deal with it. So we heard it back in, I don't know when it was, February or January, somewhere back then.
Right.
And, then my understanding is, I don't even think he went to the court after that. But then it just sat, basically until now.
okay. So I
So-
think at this point, to move the file forward, to move the application forward so that we can give the roadmap to Mr. Petrosini here. We have a couple of things, and I just want to, some of this are outstanding comments, and I'll hand up, and I apologize, I just finished it today, so.
did you get Dave's comments, John?
I did.
Okay. So, I'm just gonna run through them. Some of them are repeats, okay? just gonna try to hit the high points. I agree with everything in Dave's June memo. We have two variances, lot size and then accessory structure larger than a principal structure. We need to have a discussion about traffic, including on-site traffic flow, loading and unloading at both existing and new buildings. Address signage, address architectural review. There is a calculation, I just asked Dave to confirm the same, it might be already in his comments. I'm bringing this one back up because of its location and proximity to a residential zone. We have a restriction on loading areas. And the applicant has previously indicated that it would not put a loading at the accessory warehouse and would shuttle materials from the principal building, so i.e. unload at the principal building. It remains unclear whether this is realistic or whether it mitigates the impacts associated with a loading bay on an adjoining residential zone. In my opinion, this is an illegal answer. The design invites loading at the accessory warehouse in violation of the setback. With respect to landscaping, I'm going to refer the applicant to 200-32. I don't know if any trees came down as part of the building. That would be something that the applicant would have to provide.
I think a lot of trees came down, right? Oh, wait,
I
no,
don't know. No,
you're
not a lot
you're
there.
confusing. I'm thinking of something, I'm thinking of 3 to 6.
I think Dave answered the question in his memo. The applicant to confirm that the dumpster complies with 200-34H of the zoning code. Dumpster to be adequately screened. Dumpster shall not be located with any required buffer, setbacks, or easements. And then I have, upon verification of the extent of variance needed, that may already be done. Minimum lot area, if we're happy with that number. Planning board to declare its intent to be lead agency and circulate. And the reason I say that is because this would be a go to the ZBA. Do you see any other agencies? I don't think so.
What would go to the ZBA? You mean for loading?
Couple of things.
For several things.
So accessory is bigger than the principal building.
Right.
It needs 80,000 square feet of lot area. It only has 56 and change, so that's 2. And then depending on the loading zone, they would need a variance from how they address the loading. They would need a variance from that 200 setback requirement.
Right. So what are you suggesting we do?
You can declare tonight you can declare your intent to be lead agency. I do have a resolution.
But why would we do that?
To start the process.
I'd rather see the applicant. I got to tell you, Elizabeth, this guy has no regard for the codes, for laws, for anything. And he knew you don't build a building without a building permit. If he didn't know that, he shouldn't be doing what he's doing.
That's right.
Right? I mean, to me, it's just ridiculous. He hasn't showed up. Not any problem of yours, John, at all. So I say we just kick it and wait till he comes.
If you're gonna do that, I would just ask that you speak to your code enforcement officer, because I'm getting from him, it's your
Chris, do you know if
fault
there's
you
any-
were not here.
Right. Is there any court cases that are depending on him coming here that you're aware of?
Is Frank
He's not here
is
tomorrow.
Frank upstairs?
And when we meet this guy?
Well,
Is Frank
he
working?
wasn't asked to be here, Frank.
But, you know, but
Well, he's one of the officers. I mean,
Introduce himself.
oh, did you guys know Chris? No, you know what? Let me just do that real quick. So Chris is our new building inspector. I didn't realize you guys, I've met Chris a handful of times, so. Yeah, so anyway, Chris took over for Jim, and Brian is still on board. I was confused on this because of the village meeting at one time, the village board meeting, but Brian is still on board with that. Ron is here, so Ron, you're the man that can answer the question.
Yeah, I was just calling.
So Ron is code enforcement for this. So we're looking, the applicant to this project, this is the engineer here, John Petrosini. So he's the professional trying to get the job done.
Yes.
The applicant hasn't shown up here in a while. All I really need to know, and I think we need to know, is is there a requirement for the court for him to,
There's no active court case yet. The violations were issued, the violations expired, new violations have been issued. Once these violations expire, which will be real soon, then it's gonna go to court. Because this is going on almost, close to going on about a year and a half, not close.
But the letters I have saying that say I have to be here to prevent that from
who are
happening.
the letters from?
From
Frank,
Frank
because
Davis.
we're trying to gain compliance about either they're gonna get the building approved or tear the building down.
See, he matched, those are the two options.
Okay, so,
That's what Frank's trying to get, either approve it or remove it.
So the board is now deciding whether or not they're going to hear the application, so I just.
Well, I don't, I'm gonna step a little on Jeff's toes, and Jeff and I had a conversation. There are some instances where a property is in violation that, as a means of, and this is things like trash pickup, where the application doesn't fix the violation. In this case, the application is quote unquote, fixing the violation, or could fix the violation. I do think the board needs to process the application in the ordinary course in that regard. So, look, it's incumbent on the applicant to do their homework. Mr. Petrosini knows that. Whether his client does, that's a different story, but Mr. Petrosini knows that. So, in this particular case, and where there is a violation, I would suggest to the board that you have a case-by-case individual review by counsel as to whether this is one, yeah, we can hold off because, and again, trash is a prime example. The site's completely covered with trash. That you don't need planning board approval to pick up the trash. This one, he can get planning board approval or not. I would suggest to the code enforcement department that sometimes the planning board timeframes take a little bit longer than the notices of violation. And what I would suggest is that, and yes, there is a pattern here of
so maybe
submitting something basic, but not anything.
he should just take the building down. There was no permit to put it up.
And I agree with you 100%.
But-
We have been denied permission hundreds of times, including in the village of Monroe, to make any alterations to a property once seeker has begun. That's been my history. I'm not a lawyer, but no planning board, no building inspector has allowed us to do it.
Once seeker is completed, you're saying?
While the seeker review is ongoing.
Say that statement again, John?
We have been told numerous times that it is illegal to make alterations to the property of any type during the seeker review. Usually we want to do it for our advantage, and we're told no.
It's also illegal to put up a building without a permit.
It is, but if I go out and start,
Talking about who wants to be illegal at this point? You know,
there's nothing
seems a
wrong-
little ridiculous. that
nothing
you're
wrong
trying
for you to
use
say the building has to
a
go.
law against us.
So we have not technically started the
legality.
seeker process.
All we're trying to do is avoid breaking.
Do you hear that, John?
Correct.
We
John,
have
It's a moot point. The secret process has not started.
We haven't declared our intent yet.
So,
Okay.
So if your client,
Keep the building
so
down.
we think you need to take the building down.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I'm all for taking the building down.
You need a motion for that
well, no,
from the board?
no,
Elizabeth?
no, you're not gonna make a motion to that
Why not?
effect, because the application before you is to approve the structure. Mr. Petrosini can certainly take the sentiments of the board back to his client, that the planning board would prefer to see that the application come down, that the building come down versus,
Explain to me why, Elizabeth, they built the building, we didn't approve it. Why do we have to review it now?
Well, it's not
because
just
the
a-
applicant has to be given due process to process the application. So you have not gone through,
So Elizabeth, let me ask you a
No.
question just for clarification.
and if the
So,
board would like, we can go into a brief attorney-client.
in just a second, maybe we could do that. But, so another question. So according to what Ron just said, Frank was, the code enforcement officer on this, right? Saying they either want to take the building down or approve the building, move it one way or the other.
Correct.
That's their position. our position would be, okay, take the building down. What's not the due process there?
I'd like to go into attorney-client if I may.
Okay?